Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. In this session, we will be discussing from the 15th verse of the 11th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dwari Dwari Grihanam cha Dadhi Akshata Phalekshubihi Alankritam Purna Kumbhair Balibhir Dhupa Deepakaihi. Further description of the decorations. The translation of this verse. In each and every door of the residential houses, auspicious things like curd, unbroken fruits, sugarcane, and full water pots with articles for worship, incense, and candles were all displayed. So, it's a festive atmosphere just because Krishna has arrived in Dwaraka. It's a festival, receiving the Lord. And everyone is alert to receive the Lord appropriately. Every house, all the doors of every residential house, auspicious things are used to decorate the door, the entrance, unbroken fruits, pots filled with water and sugarcane and incense, candles for worship, all to receive the Lord appropriately. So Srila Prabhupada says a very important point here in the purport. The process of reception according to Vedic rites is not at all dry. The reception was made not simply by decorating the roads and streets as above mentioned, but by worshipping the Lord with requisite ingredients like incense, lamps, flowers, sweets, fruits, and other palatable eatables according to one's capacity. You see? So, worship of the Lord is the central point in all these decorations, all the arrangements. Worship of the Lord. So, the Vishnu Purana says the entire Varnashrama Dharma aims at worship of Vishnu by all the members of this society, irrespective of which classification they belong. Varnashrama charavata purushena parapuman aradhyate. Worship of the Supreme Lord Vishnu is the goal of practicing Varnashrama Dharma. And only by worship of Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, can we perfect our life, can we prepare ourselves to get ultimate liberation and go back home, back to Godhead. So that was clearly demonstrated by these devotees of Dwaraka, how they received the Lord and how they worshipped Him. So Srila Prabhupada further says, all were offered to the Lord, everything that they were using for decorating and the items they had kept ready to receive the Lord, they were used to not only decorate but also to offer to the Lord, like incense, lamps, fruits, and edibles, different eatables. And the remnants of foodstuff were distributed amongst the gathering citizens. So it was not like a dry reception of these modern days. Modern days they have reception for some important personalities or leaders. But there is no distribution of foodstuff. There is no worship of the Lord. That is missing. That is lacking. Each and every house was ready to receive the Lord in a similar way. And thus each and every house on the roads and streets distributed such remnants of food to the citizens, and therefore the festival was successful. Without distribution of food, no function is complete, and that is the way of Vedic culture. This is the Vedic culture. That Vedic culture means worship of the Lord, and the remnants are distributed to the people who participate in this festival. So it's not a dry reception or dry festival, no. So Prabhupada says no function is complete in the Vedic culture without distribution of food. Regarding distribution of food, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains in the 3rd chapter, 13th verse, Yajna shishta ashinaha santaha muchyante sarva kilbishaihi bunjate te tu agham papa ye pachanti atma karanat. Very important verse where Krishna describes in this 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Yajna is sacrifice. Yajna shishta is the remnants of food offered for yajna. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhunjate, they means they eat. Who? Agham papa, huge quantities of sin. Who are they? Ye pachanti, those who prepare food, atma karanat, for their own sense enjoyment. There is no offering made to the Supreme Lord. So nowadays you can see most people, they simply either purchase some ready-made food and eat it, or they prepare something at home that is also simply prepared and eaten. They do not know that they have to worship the Lord and offer Him food stuff and only accept remnants of food. So what is wrong if simply somebody eats without offering to the Lord? It is explained in this verse of the Bhagavad Gita, if they eat food which is not offered to Krishna, then they are eating sin. Our taking birth itself in this material world is because of our past sinful activities. So we already are carrying a load of sinful reactions from our past life or past lives. Now, adding to that more sinful reactions by not offering food and simply consuming food, unoffered food, is only going to increase our suffering in this world. Regarding the type of food that should be offered to Krishna, Krishna accepts only food which is in the mode of goodness. So what is food in the mode of goodness? It is described in the 17th chapter, 8th verse. Ayus sattva balarogya sukha priti vivardhanaha rasya snigdha sthira hridya ahara sattvika priyaha. That which is in the mode of goodness, foods in the mode of goodness, increase the duration of life, ayuhu, purify one's existence, sattva. Bala, they give strength. Arogya, they promote good health. Sukha means they give happiness. And priti vivardhanaha, and they give satisfaction. And further characteristics of such food, such nourishing foods are sweet, juicy, fattening, and palatable. So unless food is palatable, unless food is of this characteristic, it is not in the mode of goodness. Typically, food in the mode of passion is very, very pungent, extremely spicy, excess of spice is used, or excess of salt, or excess of sourness, excess of chili, like that. And food in the mode of ignorance is completely decomposing and stale, and that which is untouchable. In the Vedic language, untouchable is that which is stool and flesh, animal eggs, animal remains. So these are all untouchables. So that is food in the mode of ignorance. So when we are to offer food, we should remember we should offer food only that is in the mode of goodness. And further, regarding sacrifice, Krishna says in the 17th chapter, 13th verse, Vidhihinam asrishtanam mantrahinam adakshinam shraddhavirahitam yajnam tamasam parichakshate. The meaning of this verse is that sacrifice performed in defiance of scriptural injunctions, vidhihinam, in which no spiritual food is distributed, asrishtanam, no hymns are chanted, and no remunerations are made to the priests, and which is faithless, shraddha virahitam. That sacrifice is of the nature of ignorance. So merely doing a sacrifice is not enough. The sacrifice has to be performed in the mode of goodness. So the characteristic of tamasic sacrifice, or sacrifice in the mode of ignorance, is food is not distributed. As opposed to this, what was described in this 15th verse in the description of Dwarka Dham, how they received Krishna. They worshipped Krishna, they offered nice foodstuffs to him, and the remnants were distributed among the people. Even when Prabhupada established ISKCON temples, he always said prasadam distribution should be there. Prasadam distribution should be there. So it's the Vedic culture that temples food is offered to the deity who is worshipped, Krishna or Vishnu deity, and the remnants are distributed among the temple visitors. This is the Vedic culture. Prasadam distribution. Prasadam distribution is also important in Kali Yuga because people can purify their heart of sinful reactions simply by taking prasadam, Krishna prasadam. And not only it purifies their heart of sinful reactions, but it also awakens their dormant devotion. Prasadam is completely satisfying to the tongue and even to the mind. Prasadam nourishes the body very nicely. So, such Krishna prasadam should be offered. Nice preparation should be offered, palatable, sweet, juicy, nourishing. Foods in the mode of goodness should be offered to Krishna, and the remnant should be distributed. Only then will people easily become Krishna conscious. They will progress on the path of bhakti, and they will be able to actually make spiritual advancement, develop all good qualities that are to be found in devatas. Yasyasti bhakti bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunaistattra samasate suraha. All good qualities are to be found in those who engage in pure devotional service and develop all divine qualities. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.